Hello everyone, welcome to Durrett's Take. It's a special Saturday edition because what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal my final bracketology predictions here. And then what I'll do the following week, along with talking about NFL free agency news, obviously, is give my reaction to the bracket, and then later in the week give my predictions. But let's go ahead and get started on my bracketology here. So here I'm going to start with my number one seeds and go down. So the overall number one seed is obviously Gonzaga, still undefeated at this point, best team. They got a test against BYU, but they're by far a superior team now. Will they win the championship? Not sure, but they should. They're definitely Final Four material. Another one seed, I have Illinois as the one seed. They made it to the Big Ten championship game. Whether they win it or lose it tomorrow, I feel like they secured the number one seed. Maybe if Ohio State beats them, maybe they kind of switch, but I still feel like Illinois should be number one seed. And then Baylor I still have as a number one seed despite not making it to the Big 12 championship game. I still think what they've done throughout the season stands for itself. And then the other interesting one is this one is between Michigan and then Ohio State, who just beat Michigan to go to the Big Ten title game, or Houston. In the end, I'm still going to pick Michigan here. Now, they do have one of their key players out for the tournament, so maybe I might sway the committee to bump them down to the 2 seed, and then if Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship, move them to the 1st seed. Or maybe if Houston wins tomorrow, their championship game, they can, get the 1 seed. None of the scenarios would necessarily surprise me, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Michigan. So now for my number 2 seeds, like I said earlier, Houston, Ohio State are both there. And then I feel like Iowa's there as well. I liked what I've seen for them throughout the season as well. And then for the last 2 seed, this one changed for me recently. So I'm going to go with Texas since they won the Big 12 championship game. If Oklahoma State would have won it, I would have had them, basically. So it's basically the Big 12 championship winner there. Now, you can make arguments for other teams like in Alabama, Oklahoma State, Kansas, stuff like that, but I'm going Texas. They won the Big 12, which is a very tough conference behind the Big 10. It's very hard to do to win that, so I'm giving them the props there and the reward there. 3 seeds, I got Alabama. Whether they win their championship game or not tomorrow, I still think they'll just end up being a 3 seed. Oklahoma State, as I said, that's an option. They're a 3 seed. Kansas is a 3 seed despite not playing the Big 12 tournament. And then for my last 3 seed, if Arkansas would have won today, I would have bumped them up to the 3 seed. But since they didn't, I'm keeping West Virginia there as 3 seed despite their kind of like sluggish to the finish line, if you will. And then for my 4 seeds, like I said, you got Arkansas, you got Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and then you also got Purdue. While the Purdue didn't do anything in the Big Ten tournament that's noteworthy, I mean, I still feel like they had a pretty good season where they can be rewarded for a 4 seed. Okay, so now my 5 seeds, you got Virginia, who didn't play in the AC tournament due to COVID. And then I got Colorado as a 5th seed currently. But if they lose to Oregon State tonight, I think they might fall down to a 6 seed, but I think they'll end up being a 5 seed. And then you got Florida State. Now, they win the ACC, they might actually bump Purdue out of 4 seed, and then Florida State becomes a 4 seed, and then Purdue jumps down to 5 seed. And then my last 5 seed, I got Villanova. They had a unfortunate upset of Georgetown, but since Georgetown went on to win the whole Big East tournament, I guess it doesn't look as bad of a loss as it does now. But 6 seeds, you got USC. They didn't make it to the Pac-12 change again, but I feel like, again, they got very talented Mobley brothers, and they got good overall players, so I feel like they're 6 seed worthy. Another 6 seed is BYU. They showed against Gonzaga in the WCC championship game that they can hang with anyone. Now, are they going to beat Gonzaga? No. Are they going to beat a Baylor? Probably not. Or Illinois? Probably not to those type of teams. But they can show, okay, yeah, we're for real. Like, we can be, a Sweet 16 type of contender type of thing. You just never know. Another 6 seed, I got Virginia Tech. Again, they've kind of had a slide towards the end, but I feel like for the first 2/3 of the season, they were pretty good. So they can kind of keep there as a 6 seed. And then LSU, I now have 6 seed since they upset Arkansas in their next championship game. Now, whether they win it or lose it, I feel like a 6 seed is where they're going to be. Obviously, it'll help that they'll definitely be a 6 seed if they win versus lose, but I feel like either way they should stay there. 7 seed, you got Tennessee. They gave Alabama some fits earlier, but and I feel like Tennessee's kind of finished on because there was that middle part of the season where I was having Tennessee close to 9 seed. They were going the wrong direction, but then this SEC tournament kind of helped them get back in the right direction of the team they could beat down the line. So Tennessee 7 seed. So another 7 seed I have Wisconsin. They definitely have been sluggish to end the season as well, but since they have a bunch of good wins early on in the season, it's kind of holding them steady from being farther down. Number 7 seeds, San Diego State, the Mountain West Conference champions. They've only had 4 losses, and they're just a really good team once again. And then last but not least, I have Creighton, who lost to Georgetown in the Big East title game here. And if Creighton would have won that game, they would have been 6 seed, but that loss jumped them down to the 7 seed. And now for my 8 seeds, I got Oregon, which Oregon gave right at 6 seed, but that loss to Oregon State in the Pac-12 tournament kind of hurt their chances. And also having a bad beginning to the season might hurt them with the selection committee. Another 8 seed, Florida. Now, I mean, Florida had a good loss because they lost to Tennessee in the SEC tournament, so that's not a bad loss by any means. But since they didn't get as far as the other tournament teams like an LSU or something, who was kind of in a similar position, they're going to be on the lower end of the stick as far as the other SEC teams, and they're going to be an 8 seed in my opinion. Another 8 seed, you got Clemson. They got upset by Miami in the SEC tournament game, so that really hurt them right there because I thought they were a 6 seed, but then that loss just kind of ruined things for them, so they're probably an 8 seed. And then North Carolina, they did themselves really well to end the season in an AC tournament game. Upsetting Virginia Tech and whipping Duke in that final game of the regular season. So I had them going from like a 10 seed all the way up to that final 8 seed spot. If they're a 9 seed, that wouldn't shock me at all. But I have them as 8 seed. And then for my first 9 seed, I got Loyola Chicago. The only reason why I have them this high, because technically I feel like besides beating Drake in their own conference, who's on the bubble, I feel like they don't really have any good wins. But because their net rankings and other metrics in general are just so good, they're like top 10 level. That's why I had them as a single-digit seed, and honestly, they could be higher according to those metrics, and they should be higher according to those metrics. But I'm not as sold on them quite as other people are. Another 9 seed is Missouri. They kind of stumbled to the finish line as well after having a strong start. Rutgers, they could honestly be a 10 seed. Wouldn't surprise me. They kind of have mixed baggage there, but I feel like they've done enough to where they're not considered a bubble team. And then UConn, I have them being a 9 seed as well because while they don't have a lot of impressive wins besides maybe the USC one I was saying, a couple other beating other couple bubble teams, like they don't have any bad losses, so that will keep them as a single-digit seed. And then for the 10 seed, my first 10 seed is St. Bonaventure. Now, of course, VCU and St. Bonaventure play in the Atlantic 10 tournament on Sunday. And in my opinion, whoever wins that game will then become a 10 seed. And whoever loses that game will most likely be an 11 seed. So I think St. Bonaventure is going to win it, so that's why I have them as the 10 seed. Maryland is my next 10 seed. They took care of business against another bubble team of Michigan State, and to kind of help them be closer to danger in the bubble. And then Georgia Tech, right now, I mean, they're playing Florida State and they're winning. So if Georgia Tech wins against Florida State in the AC Championship game, they will actually go to a single-digit seed and most likely knock Rutgers down to a 10 seed. And then if they lose, they'll probably stay as a 10 seed. And then another 10 seed, you got UCLA. UCLA had a bad Pac-12 tournament. I forgot who they got upset. I think, they got upset by Oregon State, I believe, but in the Pac-12 tournament, and they just kind of had a sluggish finish. So when you look at it, I mean, originally I thought UCLA was safe the whole season, but then and so Lunardi and his UCLA in the bubble, now to look at their resume, and turns out the resume is actually not that good. But in the end, though, because the metrics are still fine with them, I'm going to have them as a 10 seed barely, but they're going to be again the part of the last 4 buys, basically, and that's where it kind of starts. That's where I'm getting to that range now. The clearly bubble teams, if you will, is where I'm at this point. And then for my first 11 seed, I got VCU. I feel like win or lose, they should be in the tournament, especially as a lot of the bubble teams behind them did not do themselves any favors in their conference tournaments. But yeah, like I said, if VCU can beat St. Bonaventure, they get the 10 seed instead of St. Bonaventure, so we'll see what happens there. Another 11 seed, I got Michigan State. I feel like before the Big 12 tournament, the Big 10 tournament, what they did to kind of end the season with some strong wins, against Ohio State, and I think they beat Illinois as well or something like that. So they got some strong wins to kind of end the season out on the right note there, and to kind of get themselves most likely in the tournament. And their 11 seed is Louisville. They did get upset by Duke in the tournament game, which didn't help things. Originally, I had them as more of a 10 seed, maybe even 9 seed, but that kind of bumped them down a little bit. But they have enough wins there to keep themselves from not making the tournament. And now we get to my last four in. Drum roll, please. So I have Syracuse as one of the last teams. Now, unfortunately, they couldn't upset Virginia in the ACC tournament game, but the way they played against them shows they should definitely belong in the tournament. And of course, they have a couple other good ones like North Carolina, Virginia Tech they beat in. And I think they only have like one bad loss, but other than that, it's just like they've had some good wins. Now, the record's not the best, but they have a good enough resume, in my opinion, to be in. Next is Utah State, the runners-up in the Mountain West. The fact that they were able to beat Colorado State in the semifinals Mountain West most likely help them get themselves to be in the tournament. Now, their resume is not the best, but the metrics and stuff are good enough to where they should get in. Next, I got Drake. They're going to sneak in. In my opinion, if the committee had them out, I wouldn't be as outraged as others. I'd be totally fine with it just because they do have some bad losses within their conference. They have one win against Loyola Chicago out of 3 tries, so 1 out of 3. But other than that, it's just like they don't really have any other impressive wins and a couple bad losses. So, but just because the metrics are so good for them, that's why I'm giving them the spot. And then for my last team in, I'm going with Colorado State. I know they lost some of Mountain West, and they had I think their last game in the regular season they had a bad loss to, I think it was a Fresno State or something like that. But before that, they were doing really well. I think they won like 9 in a row. They were looking good. The metrics were looking good for them, stuff like that. So I feel like they should be the last team in. And then there's already one bid stealer, and Georgetown would be a 12 seed. Before I go to the rest, of the smaller conferences, I will say if Oregon State or Cincinnati is able to get an upset and win their conference tournaments, then that means they're going to take up 1 or 2 spots depending on who or both of them win. So, for example, if Oregon State wins the Pac-12 tournament, that means Colorado State, instead of being last 4, and they're going to be knocked out entirely. And then if Cincinnati also wins, so both of them win, then that means either Drake or Utah State would fall out as well. That's my bracketology there, my bubble teams there, and then I got Winthrop and assuming Western Kentucky wins the conference, they got those 2 as 12 seeds as top of the lower tier types of conferences. Colgate, Eastern Washington's, Liberty, those are other good teams. And then whoever wins the Southland conference, and then you got the winner of the WAC, the winner of the Big West, and then Ohio, who's as a 5th seed, won their conference tournament, gets the 14 seed, and Texas Southern, SWAC represented there, and then you got Cleveland State, UNC Greensboro, Iona with Rick Pitino there, and then Appalachia State as 15 seeds, and then 16 seeds you got Morehead State, Drexel, and then you got Oral Roberts versus Hartford, and then Mount St. Mary's versus Norfolk State. So that's my bracketology right there. That's it for today. Please let me know how I did on my bracketology. Please subscribe to my channel and tell everyone about me. Thank you very much, and y'all have a wonderful Selection Sunday and wonderful weekend, and we'll be back at it next week. Thank you.